Thank you for joining me once again. Before I continue with this update, has anybody else noticed how the Western media had gone completely quiet about the war in Ukraine? Have you? Where are the so-called coalition of the willing? Where are the European leaders? Why have they gone quiet all of a sudden? Well, I thought this is worth dropping here. Something worth thinking about, right? I'll leave that to you guys to think about it. Well, you're welcome. I'm Big Shy, and this is my update for the 12th of November 2025. I have 4 interesting topics to discuss with you today. So please, grab yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a glass of wine or something, and brace yourself because this is going to be information-packed update. The first topic, Zelensky had been investigated by the new anti-corruption agencies in Ukraine, and some really interesting, shocking revelations are coming up in regard to embezzlement of millions, multi-billions, and also movement of money illegally between top ministers. Topic 2, mass surrender of Ukrainian forces to Russian forces in Pokrovsk and in Kuypiansk region of Ukraine. Topic 3, the Ukrainian Foreign Affairs shed more light on Russian requests in terms of territories and what Russia expects Ukraine to look like after this war is finished in Ukraine. Number 4, and finally, mass drone strike on the seaport of Odessa by Russia late last night and the early hours of this morning, the 12th of November 2025. On the 10th of November 2025, Zelensky claimed he is the only one not afraid of Donald Trump. He said everyone else is scared of Donald Trump because they believe Donald Trump is unpredictable. But the United States is a partner to Ukraine, and Ukraine is not a threat to the United States, vice versa, right? Straight after I saw that comment, I suspected something was coming, something wasn't right. And I believed something was going on or something had happened. But obviously, if they don't tell you, you don't know. Well, yesterday, the 11th of November, we found out that a new anti-corruption agency had taken over in Ukraine, and they've started cracking down on Zelensky's inner circle. Without Zelensky knowing, the United States formed a new anti-corruption agency. If you remember a while ago, Zelensky tried to cancel the anti-corruption agency, and that led to a big revolt. Even the West went against Zelensky. You remember that, right? Zelensky had a plan. He knew the United States and Europe have something about him. That is why he tried to cancel the anti-corruption agency then, but his plan didn't work. His plan failed massively. Now, the first thing the new anti-corruption agency did was they attacked and started investigating Zelensky's right-hand businessman. The guy is not a politician, but he's a businessman, and he's the one responsible for buying drones and a lot of weapons for Ukraine. The man is the main contact from the Western countries when they are bringing drones and other little weapons into Ukraine. The guy's home was raided in the morning of yesterday. The guy's name is Mindich. That guy you're looking at, Mindich. Like I said, he's not a politician, but he's a businessman, and he's right in the middle of all the weapons that are being bought for Ukraine, including drones. This guy called Mindich ran away from the country to Israel. Let me say that again. Mindich fled Ukraine to Israel, and before he left, he emptied everything in his home just hours before the anti-corruption agencies went to his place to arrest him and to search his home. Hours, literally about 3-4 hours before, he cleared his home and he fled to Israel. Somebody definitely gave him a tip that they were coming, right? He had been in the country for years. He had been in the country for months. He had been in the country for weeks and days. He didn't run away. But all of a sudden, the day the anti-corruption agency were going to go to his house to arrest him and to start investigating him and also to search his property, he suddenly fled that same morning. That's early in the morning, the guy took off to Israel, fled everything in his home and to Israel. This man called Myrnohrad was the biggest contractor of weapons, especially drones that are used by Ukraine, and he was also involved in the energy market. This is where it gets interesting. Buying of weapons for Ukraine and also involved in the energy market scheme. The anti-corruption agency claimed this man laundered over 100 million US, and Zelensky is linked to this business. They called the guy Zelensky's wallet. Wallet that you keep money. That is what they labeled the guy. But who gave the guy a tip that the anti-corruption agencies were coming to arrest him? Somebody definitely gave him a tip, and the guy took off to Israel. Right as we speak right now, he's somewhere in Israel, if he had not changed his location already. Over hundreds of millions in dollars, this guy completely. And obviously, Zelensky is aware of it, because Zelensky is part of the business, according to the anti-corruption agencies. The New York Times in United States claimed, in fact, they reviewed a lot of information of anti-corruption that are taking place, and they claim this had now weakened Zelensky's power, which means indirectly, this is me thinking outside the box, okay, which means United States is now seeking a regime change in Ukraine, or perhaps Zelensky is planning to step aside, but they are doing it systematically. Well, the Time claimed this anti-corruption case had completely taken the power of Zelensky's hand. When Zelensky came into power, he promised everybody that he would restore trust in the people by getting rid of corruption in Ukraine. But throughout this war, Ukraine was already the most corrupt country. Now, according to statistics, before the war even started. But now, I think they've gone out of the scale, completely out of the scale, at the expense of the blood of their citizens. People who are being deleted and every single day, and some of these guys are getting richer and richer. No, there's another guy that fled again, another part of Zelensky inner circle. His name is Rostam Umarov. This guy you're looking at. He also fled the country today, the 12th of November 2025. So on the 11th, which was yesterday, what's the other guy's name again? I forgot his name. Is it Myrnohrad or Rendich, whatever, this guy you're looking at. He fled the country. And then today, Rostam Umarov also fled the country very early in the morning, because the anti-corruption agencies were going for him as well, because his name also was linked to people who had ministers who had embezzled hundreds of millions in Ukraine throughout this war. Another 4 Ukrainian top ministers are also under investigation for embezzlement of over 300 million US, all in the energy sector. Those ministers include the justice minister called Galushenko, this guy, and the former energy minister, and also the current energy minister called Grinchuk. I hope I called the name right, but this guy you're looking at. They are all under investigation for embezzlement of millions of US. So, my question is, who carried out this attack on Zelensky? Because this is a personal attack on Zelensky. And this now shows the reason why Zelensky came out to pretend like, Donald Trump is my friend. We are not threat to the United States, and United States is not threat to Ukraine. So obviously, Did Zelensky make a deal with Donald Trump? Because I found that statement really odd and weird. How can you come out and start making odd statement? Oh, we are not threatening the United States. Everybody is scared of Donald Trump because they believe Donald Trump is unpredictable. Donald Trump is my friend. I'm not Donald Trump's enemy. Straight away, I suspected something wasn't right, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. But now we know. Who launched that attack on Zelensky? The only person or the only country I can think of is the United States or Donald Trump. End of. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Nobody will never know because I don't think the EU leaders would have tried to do Zelensky over, would they? They love Zelensky because they're getting, and they themselves are trying to protect their political ambition. Ambition that is dead a long time ago. Let's go to the second topic. Pokrovsk. The city of Pokrovsk in Ukraine is completely done and over. Everything you're seeing right now on TV or everything you're hearing in the news is just formalities. Russia is trying to shame Ukraine and also to shame NATO by capturing as many soldiers as possible alive. Just to show exactly the same picture that happened in Mariupol. Those of you that remember. And also to use this opportunity to concentrate critical mass in Pokrovsk. Right now, as all of this is going on, Russia is filling Pokrovsk with all their forces, their active elite forces. And there are two reasons for that. And I'll discuss those two reasons for you in a minute. Russia is planning to move forward quickly. Once they announce Pokrovsk is now fully under the control of Russia, Russia is going to just start moving ahead. Hundreds of Russian forces were seen this morning entering into the southern part of Pokrovsk, confidently walking, riding vehicles and motorcycles, and some of them were even walking. Hundreds and hundreds of them in the thick fog. Like this video you're looking at right here. Those are the Russian forces right there, walking confidently. They are so confident to the point where they were even strolling. Look at them. No pressure. They were not afraid of anything coming. There was no resistance. That means one thing. That means that city is completely gone. And I strongly believe there are no more Ukrainian forces, NATO forces in the whole of the southern part of Pokrovsk. Russia know where those forces are. They don't want to destroy them. The only time Russia starts destroying them is when they try to break out of their hiding. Russia hit them, but they want to arrest all of them. After Pokrovsk is completely taken, believe it or not, the nearest city from Pokrovsk is the Pokrovsk, how let's call that name wrong. This one you're looking at right here, which is mile and mile away from the front line. So Russia are going to scatter all over the villages and towns all the way to Kyiv and also to Pokrovsk itself. Nothing is going to stop Russian forces. They are going to scatter into all the villages. And all you're going to hear every day is Russia capturing villages, capturing town, and they will continue to move forward steadily. Not even steadily, they will go really fast. Russia will start installing their military equipment and infrastructures and also bring forward all the heavy weapons and warfare equipment to control the skies around Kuypiansk and Pokrovsk. A conversation was heard, something really interesting. Listen to this. A conversation was tapped in by Russian forces today. The conversation was between a Ukrainian, some group of Ukrainian forces and their commander in the southern city of, Myrnohrad. I'll leave that in the subtitle. And Russia intercepted the conversation yesterday, the 11th of November 2025. The forces were requesting for immediate evacuation. And they said if the Ukrainian government cannot provide them with immediate evacuation or allow them to evacuate, then NATO should provide them with water, food, arms and ammunition, and also medicines. The forces have been fighting for weeks and weeks without food or water. All they've had, according to the conversation that was broadcasted, just each of them is 40 grams of cookies each in a week. That is all they've had. They are tired, they are exhausted, they need food, they need medicine, and most importantly, they need to fall back. But the Ukrainian commanders and government would not allow them fall back. Obviously, at this point, it's too late because they can't fall back. They are surrounded by Russian forces. After Russia heard that conversation, Gerasimov, the chief of Russian commanding whatever, gave the Russian forces the instruction to fly drones into that city and drop leaflets, giving precise, accurate instruction on how those forces can surrender and live to see another day or end up staying there forever. Russia is going to provide everything they need, and they're going to keep them safe. They're going to take them prisoners of war, but at least they'll be safe, they will survive. Shortly after those leaflets was dropped by Russian forces using drone, Ukrainian soldiers that were in that town, especially those ones that made that call, started walking out with their hand up in the sky, and they surrendered in hundreds to Russian forces. Well, they said 100, but official figure that I saw says 80 soldiers surrendered to Russia. That was the first episode of mass surrendering. So far, so good. After the one that happened in Mariupol, because it was only in Mariupol we saw about 800 or so soldiers. But ever since then, what we've seen throughout this war is 5 soldiers being captured, 2 being captured, or 3 at most. But this is the first time in a long time we saw 80 in one go surrender to Russia. Many others will obviously follow because they understand this is the end of the road. NATO is not going to come and save them. The Ukrainian commanders are not going to come and save them. So they are all on their own. Now, let's move to the next topic because, like I said, the Pokrovsk and the Kuypiansk matter is finished. Kuypiansk is pretty much finished because Russia is now took about 97% of the town, of the city. So that again is pretty much finished. But what Russia is doing is, Russia is withholding information. Russia don't want to give out too much for safety reasons. They are bringing all their elite forces to Pokrovsk and Kuypiansk, concentrating critical mass so that once they announce the fall of that city, the fresh forces are going to start going forward straight. Why the NATO or the Ukrainian forces think they're going to relax and try to rest. There's no rest for the Russian. The new forces are going to start moving forward. While the one that took those cities will stay back and maintain the line and have some rest. Let's move to the other topic, to the foreign affairs of Ukraine. The foreign affairs claimed Russia planned to take full and total control of the following cities. No questions asked. No matter what anybody says, if heaven goes up and come down, Russia is going to take these cities I'm going to mention to you. Total control. There's no negotiations about them. Kharkiv, which is Ukrainian's second largest city. Russia plans to take that control of that city, whether Ukraine like it, whether United States like it or not. That is the plan. Mykolaiv, Russia is going to take all those complete area in Mykolaiv. There's no question about that. Odessa seaport, that is the one that came out today that really shocked me. Russia is going to take Odessa. Come rain, come sun, whatever it is, Russia is taking Odessa, but Russia don't want to destroy Odessa. So they are putting pressure on Kherson and the Zaporizhzhia at the moment. Once those areas fall, Odessa is minus case for Russia. But Russia don't want to destroy Odessa. Russia's plan is to completely cut Ukraine off the sea or the Black Sea. Ukraine is going to become, I don't even know, is it mainland without any sea connection? That is the first stage. The second stage includes economic and political pressure with threat of a new invasion on Ukraine if Ukraine goes out of line after this war. The third and the final stage is Ukraine must enter Russia's orbit. When I mean orbit, Ukraine must be under Russian control like Belarus. Those are the main principles, those are the main conditions that Russia is seeking according to Ukrainian Foreign Affairs. I don't know why, I don't know how they got that information, but obviously both parties are obviously in conversation. They talk to each other. Finally, let's talk about Odessa. Like we just said, Russia is planning to cut Ukraine off the Black Sea completely, because with Ukraine being in control of the Black Sea, Russian fleet and Russian logistics are not safe. So Russia is planning to completely remove Ukraine from the Black Sea. This morning, Odessa was heavily hammered by drone attack from Russia. Odessa is now cut out completely. There's nothing going into Odessa. There's nothing coming out of Odessa. Apparently, Russia managed to get information that there were some boats or some ship bringing in ammunition to the seaport of Odessa. Both the seaport facilities, the ships, the crews in the ship, and also every single ammunition in the ships were all destroyed. A lot of facilities and infrastructures were destroyed as a result of the strike on Odessa this morning. Like I said, more likely the Russians were attacking incoming vessels that were carrying weapons into Odessa region. Ladies and gentlemen, this war had entered its final stage, and whether you believe it or not, but my question still remains: why have the Western media gone quiet all of a sudden? Why do you think they've gone quiet? What do you think could be wrong? Why they went quiet? Let me know in the comment section.